There's an unspoken truth in the glittering, often deceptive, world of entertainment, a reality frequently obscured by meticulously crafted success stories and dazzling public personas. This truth reveals that not every disappearance from the harsh glare of the spotlight signifies failure, a fading career, or a loss of relevance. In fact, for some extraordinary individuals, retreating into silence and stepping away from the public gaze becomes the only viable path to genuine survival. It transforms into a crucial, often arduous, period of self-recalibration, a profound journey inward before re-emerging not just stronger and more resilient, but profoundly deeper, more authentic, and undeniably human. In the late 1990s, Shania Twain wasn't merely a rising star. She was an uncontainable global phenomenon, a whirlwind that swept across every music chart imaginable with an electrifying force. Her infectious melodies and powerful anthems commanded radio airwaves, effortlessly shattering rigid, outdated boundaries between traditional country music and vibrant mainstream pop culture. She sold tens of millions of albums at a dizzying, unprecedented pace, transforming the music industry with each release. Perhaps most significantly, she radically redefined the image of a female artist within a genre historically rife with conservative barriers and entrenched prejudices, paving the way for countless others. Then, as if under a silent, inexplicable curse or an abruptly closed chapter in a thrilling saga, her ubiquitous presence began to wane. Her relentless touring schedule vanished from public view, and the once constant stream of candid interviews across newspapers and television shows became strangely sparse, then almost non-existent. Whispers started to rustle like dry leaves in the wind, growing louder, and public curiosity spread like a slow, smoldering fire across continents. Fans worldwide, along with the entire, baffled entertainment industry, collectively wondered with a growing sense of bewilderment. What truly happened to the woman once deemed unstoppable, the artist who had conquered the world with her extraordinary voice, unparalleled confidence, and magnetic charisma? The truth, as one might expect from the dramatic and often sensationalized mysteries of Hollywood, wasn't a singular, shocking secret revealed in one breathtaking moment that brought either immediate relief or astonished clarity. On the contrary, it was a protracted, agonizing sequence of compounding trials and tribulations, woven into a rich, complex tapestry of life marked by profound emotional scars and relentless challenges. These formidable obstacles ranged from extreme childhood poverty and enduring emotional trauma to the crushing weight of family responsibility placed on young shoulders. Later, they escalated to a life-altering illness that cruelly robbed her of her voice, the primary instrument, core identity, and very soul of any singer, culminating in the bitter, soul-shattering betrayal within what seemed to be a perfect, fairy tale marriage. Shania Twain's story, therefore, transcends a simple narrative of dazzling fame and fleeting glamour. It is a powerful, poignant epic about extraordinary human resilience, a deeply personal journey of finding and painstakingly redefining one's identity amidst profound loss, and the remarkable capacity for repeated rebirth and radical transformation within a single, ostensibly linear lifetime. And if we look closer, beyond the superficial layers of fleeting rumors, baseless conjectures, and hasty, often unkind, judgments, we discover that her prolonged silence was not an act of complete disappearance or abandonment, a surrender to the overwhelming odds. It was, instead, a fiercely intense period of struggle in the shadows, a quiet yet fiercely determined battle to reclaim her life, to meticulously piece together the shattered fragments of herself, and to heal wounds that ran deeper than anyone could publicly perceive. There are certain stars whose sudden disappearance from the limelight prompts an entire nation, or even the world, to question, to doubt, to the very core of their being. What on earth happened to our idol? This isn't the kind of disappearance that comes from being past one's prime, from a perceptible loss of creative spark, or from a scandalous fall from grace due to widely publicized personal or professional missteps. Rather, it's a vanishing act right at the dizzying zenith of glory, when everything should have exploded with even greater intensity, when the entire world seemed to lie effortlessly in their outstretched hands. Shania Twain epitomizes such a classic and haunting case, a perplexing enigma for millions. In the late 1990s, she was not just a star, but a global phenomenon, an undeniable boundary-breaking icon who propelled country music directly into the heart of mainstream pop culture, a place where it had rarely been welcomed or recognized with such fervor before. Yet, she abruptly retreated, creating an unusually prolonged silence, almost completely devoid of the regular interviews and ubiquitous appearances that other superstars painstakingly maintain to sustain their aura and media presence. People labeled it a mystery, spawning countless rumors and wild speculations. But if we delve deeper into her resilient soul and tumultuous history, Shania's story isn't a sensational mystery designed for fleeting public entertainment or amusement. It is, in fact, a comprehensive and intricately detailed map charting the true, often brutal, cost of survival, the overwhelming price of global fame, and the immense personal toll of having to reinvent and rebirth oneself multiple times in a life that ostensibly should only be lived once. It represents a different, more profound kind of courage, one born not of bravado, but of endurance. This particular story, in truth, began long before Eileen Regina Edwards became the Shania that the world knew and admired, long before the dazzling lights and roaring crowds. Born in 1965 in Windsor, Ontario, a Canadian border city, her childhood took an early, stark turn towards hardship and upheaval when her parents divorced. Her family subsequently relocated to Timmins, a remote, small town nestled deep in northern Canada, where winters stretched on endlessly with biting cold, and life was undeniably harsh, lacking in every conceivable comfort, material or otherwise. There's a crucial, often overlooked detail when Shania is viewed solely as a glamorous, proud entertainment icon: the profound, early sense of rootlessness, the stark absence of emotional safety and stability. These foundational, often traumatic, experiences forged a unique psychological bedrock, an implicit, almost instinctual, defense mechanism shaped by her formative years. Later, when confronted with the dazzling, often unforgiving, glare of the spotlight and the enormous, suffocating pressures of global fame, such an individual would react markedly differently, with a deeply ingrained caution and heightened sensitivity, than someone who had enjoyed a more serene, secure childhood. An artist doesn't merely bring their voice and talent to the stage. They carry with them a complex personal history, their deepest, most primal fears, and the self-preservation mechanisms forged in those turbulent and insecure early years. These are the silent, ever-present ghosts that accompany them throughout their lives, shaping every decision and reaction. When Shania's mother remarried Jerry Twain, her family not only acquired a new surname, but also a new, turbulent reality filled with constant turmoil and tension. According to Shania's honest, often raw, reflections in her memoirs and later interviews, it was a period fraught with incessant stress and upheaval, leaving deep emotional wounds that were not easily healed, scars that would linger for decades. It's imperative to clarify here that we are not commodifying personal tragedy or reducing it to cheap sensationalism for entertainment value. However, to truly comprehend why someone could achieve such extraordinary heights on stage, conquering the world, only to abruptly withdraw from the public eye, one must inevitably examine what transpired before they reached the pinnacle of fame. For Shania, childhood was not merely marked by material deprivation, by the gnawing hunger for basic necessities, but also by a severe lack of emotional stability, a fundamental prerequisite for healthy development and a robust sense of self. Such profound instability often produces two distinct types of individuals in life: one who succumbs early, unable to overcome initial challenges and accepting their difficult fate; the other who learns to navigate life with an iron will and an almost extreme discipline, transforming themselves into an unyielding fortress of resilience. Shania Twain unequivocally belongs to the latter category, having transmuted her deprivations and wounds into a powerful, almost desperate, driving force, a fiercely burning and enduring flame within her that refused to be extinguished. Music entered Shania's life not as a romantic, poetic passion often depicted in the idyllic biographies of great artists, where they find pure joy and boundless freedom in their craft. On the contrary, for her, music was a last-ditch lifeline, a vital means, a desperate tool for sheer, day-to-day survival. She clung to music with every ounce of her strength because it was the only way she could persevere and prevent her family from sinking deeper into the abyss of poverty, into a despair from which there might be no return. She began singing at a very young age, and in Shania's narrative, the image of an 8-year-old performing in smoky, adult bars is not a beautiful or romantic one. It is a stark, almost brutal, indicator of extreme poverty and the crushing burden of responsibility that arrived too soon, too heavily, stealing the innocence of childhood and replacing it with a grim determination. When you're forced to earn money to support your family from such a tender age, you learn two critical, indelible things: unimaginable, enduring resilience in the face of all hardships, and the ingrained habit of prioritizing the needs of others over your own, often to the point of self-sacrifice. These two traits, on one hand, propel you incredibly far in life and career, building an indomitable will, but on the other, they also make you incredibly vulnerable to collapse when everything falls apart, precisely because you've become so accustomed to existing by stiffening your resolve and concealing your profound inner weaknesses and hurts, even from yourself. Shania displayed early flashes of undeniable talent, appearing on Canadian television at just 13, joining local bands, and performing in various venues, sowing the fragile seeds of hope for a different future. Yet, simultaneously, she had to return to the harsh realities of life. Once working in the arduous, physically punishing job of tree planting in the rugged wilderness of northern Ontario, with calloused hands and an exhausted body pushed to its limits. In a typical star's biography, people usually only retain the upward trajectories, the dazzling victories, the moments of ultimate, triumphant glory. But it is precisely the downward turns, the need to start over from scratch, the parts where they confronted the most grueling, soul-testing challenges, that truly explain their fundamental nature and inner depth. Tree planting in the northern Ontario wilderness was not merely physically demanding labor, but also a profound experience of extreme solitude, of standing amidst vast, untamed nature, listening to the rustling wind, and realizing that her dreams of a music career seemed impossibly distant, perhaps even chimerical, almost beyond reach. Someone who has endured that profound feeling of isolation and struggle develops a very different relationship with fame. They don't view fame as life's ultimate destination, a glittering prize in itself, but rather as a desperate door out of the darkness, an opportunity to escape the life that once imprisoned them. And thus, once they've stepped through that precious door, they also fear its closing more than anyone else, fearing the loss of everything they've gained with an almost primal terror. The tragic turning point in 1987 stands as one of the most pivotal and profoundly painful moments that indelibly shaped Shania into the resilient, compassionate person she would later become. Her mother and stepfather tragically died in a devastating car accident, instantly removing the family's sole pillars of support, leaving a void that seemed impossible to fill. For a young artist striving to open the doors to a professional music career in Nashville, the heart of country music, it was a cruel reversal of fate, almost crushing every hope and dream she harbored. But what distinguishes Shania's story is that she did not simply wallow in grief and despair, allowing herself to be consumed by sorrow. Instead, with astonishing courage and selflessness, she returned home and became the primary caregiver, shouldering the immense responsibility for her younger siblings, putting her own life and ambitions entirely aside. For years, she postponed her singing dreams, performing in local resorts for meager wages just to keep her family fed day by day, ensuring their survival. This is not a secondary detail in her life. This is the core of her character, the unshakable foundation that explains why Shania could later stand firm against the world, facing immense pressure and dazzling fame without crumbling. Because in those years, she honed her performing instincts not for fame, not for recognition or applause, but to survive, to ensure her beloved siblings would have food on their table tomorrow. You can learn vocal technique in school, but you learn stage grit, authentic resilience, and the ability to genuinely connect with an audience from those nights spent singing for the next meal, for sheer, desperate survival. When Shania finally secured a recording contract in the early 1990s and chose the stage name Shania, a beautiful name in the Ojibwe language meaning, "I'm on my way," it was more than just a resonant moniker. It was a profound vow, a declaration of unwavering intent. Not a vow to become a superstar, but a solemn, deeply personal promise never to return to the place where life had once confined her in the grip of poverty and crushing responsibility. It was then that she met Mutt Lange, a brilliant and strategically visionary music producer who would not only become her indispensable collaborator, a creative force alongside her, but also her life partner. One could endlessly debate Lange's precise impact on Shania's music and how he shaped her distinctive style, but it's hard to deny that their collaboration created a rare success machine, a synergistic power unlike anything seen before in the music industry. Her 1995 album, The Woman in Me, propelled her into major stardom, earning widespread public recognition and affection. But it was Come On Over in 1997 that truly exploded, a seismic cultural event that reshaped the global music landscape and defied every conventional rule. The album's success wasn't merely in its record-breaking sales. It lay in Shania's achievement of something very few country artists at the time could do. She made mainstream audiences, including those who had never listened to country music in their lives, feel that this was their music, an integral, relatable part of their emotional lives. It dissolved entrenched genre boundaries in spectacular, undeniable fashion. For audiences in the United States and around the world, the most captivating aspect of Shania was that she didn't fit the familiar mold of the pure, traditional country singer they were accustomed to. She embodied the spirit of late 1990s North America, confident, free-spirited, fiercely individual, and utterly ready to break down antiquated boundaries and outdated stereotypes with a bold defiance. Shania didn't just sing. She powerfully redefined the image of women in country music, from her bold, alluring attire and powerful, self-possessed stage presence, to her complete, unwavering control over her narrative and message. Yet, here lies an inherent, often cruel, paradox that few realize. To become a boundary-breaking icon, a challenger of the status quo, you inevitably face double, even triple, the scrutiny of an ordinary person. You are simultaneously adored as a beloved star and meticulously dissected inch by inch as a tradition breaker, a challenger of old values and established norms. If you grew up in an emotionally insecure and unstable environment like Shania, being publicly judged, having every action scrutinized under a microscopic lens, inevitably reactivates those old and profound childhood fears. Fear of abandonment, fear of losing your footing, fear of everything collapsing once again into chaos. This profound insight helps us understand why Shania could be so incredibly strong and resilient on the outside, a towering figure of confidence, yet simultaneously deeply fragile and vulnerable on the inside, constantly guarding those raw, unhealed places. By the early 2000s, Shania experienced significant, deliberate shifts in her personal life. She married, had a child, and prioritized her burgeoning family, stepping back somewhat from the glaring, all-consuming spotlight. Subsequently, she released the album Up in 2002 with immense ambition and a global vision, even putting out different versions for diverse international music markets, a clear sign of an artist refusing to confine herself to a specific genre or geographical market. But it was precisely at this moment that her life story took a turn her fans least wished to confront, a stark reminder that even superstars are human. The body can betray you at any time, even if you are an icon. In 2003, Shania contracted Lyme disease after a tick bite, and the insidious complications of this persistent illness severely and permanently affected her singing voice. For a vocalist whose instrument is their very being, this was not merely a common health issue, a fleeting cold to be easily overcome. It was a profound crisis of identity, an unspeakable, existential loss. If the voice is a singer's primary instrument, their most intimate means of expression, and their core identity, their very soul made audible, then losing control of it is akin to losing control of oneself, losing a part of one's soul, a part of their very essence of being. Many, upon hearing about Lyme disease, might assume it was the sole reason for Shania's mysterious disappearance from the public eye, a simple cause and effect. However, from a psychological perspective, the illness was only one part of the story, a mere catalyst, albeit a devastating one. The other part, perhaps even more devastating, was the profound blow to her deepest foundations of trust. And that blow came next, in 2008, when her marriage painfully and bitterly dissolved due to the betrayal of her life partner and close collaborator, Mutt Lange, who had also been her creative anchor. When simultaneously her body was weakened, her voice severely damaged, and her trust in the person she loved, the one who had helped her build her unparalleled career, completely shattered, the reaction to withdraw completely from the outside world became incredibly understandable, even necessary for profound self-preservation. Her silence at that time was not a calculated media stunt or a strategic plan to create buzz. It was an instinctive, desperate self-protective mechanism, an urgent, almost primal, attempt to reassemble the shattered fragments of herself, to find the most intact Shania possible amidst the wreckage. The pivotal point that transformed Shania's story from a tragic narrative into an inspiring journey of rebirth and triumphant reclamation was the way she meticulously rebuilt her life, step by painful, determined step, with extraordinary perseverance and an unyielding will. Her marriage to businessman Frederick Thibault in 2011 was not a tale of karmic revenge or a hasty, desperate search for a replacement. It was a poignant narrative of two individuals who had both endured profound traumas and indelible scars from similar betrayals, finding safety, deep understanding, and healing in each other's presence. From that solid foundation of mutual love and trust, she embarked on a lengthy, arduous medical treatment process, undergoing complex, invasive surgery to restore her voice, followed by months of relentless, unwavering practice and rehabilitation to painstakingly reclaim her voice, little by little, note by painful note. Ultimately, she made a spectacular, critically acclaimed return to the stage with her Still the One residency in Las Vegas. This highly anticipated comeback was not boisterous with explosive media fanfare, nor did it attempt to create sensational shocks to garner attention. Instead, it was carefully designed for sustainability, prioritizing her regained health and a balanced personal life, a testament to her profound maturity and hard-won wisdom gained after enduring so many storms. Shania didn't return to play the fiery, rebellious girl of 1997, a bygone icon of audacious confidence and untamed spirit. Instead, she re-emerged as a woman who had navigated life's most brutal storms, bearing the indelible scars on her soul, yet now imbued with profound wisdom, a hard-earned inner peace, and a more serene, reflective beauty. She released new albums, featured in heartfelt documentaries chronicling her extraordinary life, and continued to tour globally, connecting with millions of adoring fans. Notably, she made no attempt to erase or conceal the difficult experiences, the excruciating pain, or the profound losses she had endured. Instead, she seamlessly integrated them into her narrative, transforming these past wounds into an intrinsic, powerful part of who she is today, making her more authentic, deeply resonant, and profoundly relatable to a global audience. And for me, that is the most significant and valuable lesson from Shania Twain's journey: the immense power of acceptance and the remarkable, alchemical ability to transmute wounds into an enduring, unshakable strength. We live in a culture that incessantly demands constant presence, a relentless, invisible yet formidable pressure exerted by traditional media and social networks alike. If you don't appear, if you don't continually share, you're often perceived as having vanished, failed, or become tragically irrelevant. Yet, Shania illustrates an alternative, far braver path, a difficult choice few dare to take. You can step back, deliberately and courageously, to recover, to heal both emotional and physical wounds, to rediscover your true, unadulterated self, and still return stronger than ever, on your own terms, at your own pace. Fame, fortune, or dazzling success can never truly shield you from life's inevitable pain and loss, from the cruel vagaries of fate. Instead, It is an indomitable spirit, an iron will forged in hardship, and the profound, intrinsic capacity for inner resilience that enable you to navigate through pain without losing your essence, without being completely submerged by the tidal waves of adversity. That, in itself, is an invaluable, incomparable asset, more precious than any award or chart position. What truly makes Shania Twain a monumental icon isn't merely her colossal album sales, her prestigious awards, or her groundbreaking musical records that redefined a genre. It is her raw courage to step away from the pinnacle of her career when needed, to confront a debilitating illness that threatened her very identity and a devastating, heartbreaking betrayal that shattered her world, and then to bravely return to the stage in a manner that authentically reflected her evolved self. A mature, seasoned woman, rich with experience, profound wisdom, and a deep understanding of life's complexities. Her story doesn't instruct us on how to achieve fame or how to desperately cling to the fleeting spotlight. Instead, it teaches us how to survive, how to resiliently rise again from the ashes of despair, and how to find profound meaning in life long after the stage lights have dimmed and the applause has faded into silence, leaving only the quiet echoes of one's own journey. Looking back at this entire journey, so fraught with challenges yet so rich in tenacity and transformation, the question may no longer be as simple, superficial, what happened to Shania Twain? A deeper, more poignant, and ultimately more philosophical question emerges. One that resonates with the universal human experience. When life strips away that which is most essential to you, that which you relied upon to define yourself, that which you believed was the core of your very existence, what do you do with what remains? How do you rebuild when the blueprint is gone? She chose to rise, to confront every tragedy head-on, to heal herself with unwavering resolve, and to be reborn, phoenix-like, from the ashes of her past. And in a world where success is often measured by unwavering continuity, relentless ascent to new heights, and uninterrupted public presence, Shania Twain's choice is truly extraordinary. It stands as a priceless lesson in human resilience, an indomitable spirit, and the quiet, profound power of self-reclamation. It is, above all, a triumph of the inner self, a testament to the enduring human spirit. If this inspiring and authentically raw story prompts you to rethink your perceptions of fame, failure, and the restorative, transformative power of the human will, please share your thoughts and feelings. For stories like this truly gain their full value when we collectively look deeper, not just at the dazzling stage lights or the sterile statistics of success, but into the complex, profound, and extraordinarily resilient human being behind it all. That is precisely where life's most invaluable, enduring lessons are discovered, etched not in gold records, but in the heart.